Good day to everyone out there in live reality world. Welcome to the next podcast. We are joined today for the new Survivor Boston cast assessment. Super exciting to have the fellow guests with me today. Lots of variety in our topics. My name is Dustyn. I am from the Live Reality Games page. I've hosted a few games, played a few myself. We are joined here with Austin, another person from Michigan originally when you played Survivor Michigan. Austin, welcome.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
How are you doing today?
I'm all right. Been a pretty chill day for me. Already voted early, so. But yeah, if you haven't gone to go vote yet, go vote before. I think it's like 8 p.m.
Yeah, and
So,
for those
yeah.
people that are stuck in line, just pop on this podcast while you're waiting and just join us for the duration of this thing. So, hey, we're also joined by Nathan. Nathan, welcome.
Hi. I'm so excited to be here.
So for the viewers at home that don't know Nathan yet, Nathan, please tell us a little bit about your live reality game experience.
Yeah, I'm guessing not too many people know who I am. I've last played in Big Brother Columbus Season 7, and I've also played 2 seasons of Big Brother Victory House in North Carolina, and then a couple orgs here and there. But I'm excited just for like the next hour to only focus on votes at Tribal Council and deciding who's the sole survivor.
Exactly. So definitely election day. So a lot of voting taking place today. And of course, at the end of this, Austin, myself, and Nathan will be casting our votes, who we think the final 3 are. And for everyone tuning in at home, there is a link in our description that you can also put your votes in for your final 3. So let's kick stuff off. Austin, actually, remind folks at home your live reality game experience.
Yeah, so I played on Survivor Michigan Season 3, Mazed and Confused. You can go see that on YouTube in its entirety. That was a time. So I hope you all enjoy it if you've already seen it. And if you haven't seen it, totally go check it out. And after that, but it premiered beforehand, I played Survivor Buffalo in New York. And that was also just an absolutely incredible experience. So I've gotten to play a really long form game. Survivor Michigan, my season lasted 100 days total versus Survivor Buffalo, which was a weekend. So I had both extremes. So
you're very well versed in the college experience, and Nathan, you're very well versed in the live game experience as well, having played multiple things.
This feels very, very fresh though, just because it's a long form game. I feel like I'm 5 or 6 years removed from undergrad, so I'm like, I'm way too old to be doing this. But hey, we're gonna give our opinions nonetheless.
Absolutely. And for the folks viewing at home, the first episode premieres this Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can check out the premiere on YouTube and comment along as the live chat goes on. So to kick things off, we'll just be going through the cast here, giving our opinions. Currently, there is a playlist on the YouTube channel that goes over everyone's introductions, probably about a minute and a half with some of them, just introducing themselves. So if you haven't checked it out yet, the link is also in the description that you can check in after you hear our opinions, because of course our opinions are what we're going on right now, and hopefully we get your interactions on those. So if you think something different, let us know. Let's see here. Let's kick stuff off with... We have Finn for the cast. Finn, I put down he is a comedic arts person, so I think he's going to be well liked by people, or at least a good comic relief. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I definitely think he's going to use his skills to his advantage. Like, you say that you're going to be a comedic arts major, you're going to like making people laugh. And I think that's definitely something that if you're going to do it well and you're not trying to like purposefully be funny, but just being kind of endearing like that, I think you could totally make some strategic and social inroads.
Yeah, so we're going off of very little off of like minute-long videos here. And granted, first of all, I have a couple questions. Like, one, who goes to college to study comedy? Um, like, either you're funny or you're not. And then, like, and so I'm like, okay, comedic arts. And then for the rest of the video, like, he wasn't funny at all. And I'm like, okay, I don't have a lot of faith in you, to be honest. Because
Well, that's what you go to school for. Like, you're supposed to learn this.
Sure, maybe he's a freshman. I don't know that.
Yeah, I don't like. There weren't a whole lot of people I remember who like actually said their year, so that also like would have been kind of useful to know.
Yeah, there's a few people that pointed out freshmen. I think one person said they were a sophomore, and there's a few seniors in this cast. So I don't really know where Finn fits in with this either. So
yeah. But I kind of agree with Nathan's. Like, there really wasn't a whole lot there, I think. And I mean, of course, we're only going off of so little. I do see him maybe trying. He said he was like a fan of reality TV and name dropped Big Brother. And so that's always kind of like a red flag of sorts where I'm like, Big Brother's a very different kind of game to Survivor. And I think if you come in trying to adopt a Big Brother-esque strategy to especially a long form game. Thank you, Jacob. It's sophomore, that helps. I think if you try to adopt a long form strategy from Big Brother to a long form Survivor strategy, you might run into some problems because you're really like focusing less on the competitions and more and less on the challenges, I think, and a lot more on the relationships, which I don't think is something you get as much in Big Brother. Though I'm not as big of a Big Brother fan, so that's kind of my...
Yeah. Now, Nathan, that's your stronger suit, the Big Brother experience. Like, how do you think the gameplay will switch from like a Big Brother perspective to playing like a Survivor game? Because you did quite well in Big Brother.
Yeah, thank you. I think relationships matter regardless, but just because this is a young cast, they're all in undergrad, they're all kind of in the same circles. Like, there's so many performing arts majors in the cast that they're going to naturally, I think, do what you do in school, which is to form cliques. And that's going to be more apparent. It really, I wanted to look at, for the people who I thought would be successful, I was looking for the people who I got the impression that they'd be willing to branch out from their typical circles, and especially people who would go and be intentional about that early on and throughout. And I don't see Finn necessarily doing that. I see Finn, I think he's going to be a fun character, but even from like the little preview video we had of Survivor Boston 4, I noticed that when the whole cast was lined up, he was standing not just at the end, but like a couple feet removed with his arms crossed. And just that body language tells me that he's probably going to have trouble branching out.
Now, that's the great thing about all these live reality games, actually, because it just brings you out of your comfort zone. So everybody does branch out eventually, or just a little bit, and grows, I would say. So hopefully Finn can learn from that experience. But like you guys were saying, he's a huge fan of reality shows, but he didn't mention like Survivor. He said he's a fan of Big Brother and other shows. So he just like clumps Survivor in with the other reality shows. Like,
and if you don't come in with a team mentality for Survivor, you're going to be in trouble. Like, Big Brother is such an individual game, and it's all about just like trying to keep the blood off your hands and keep being good with everybody. But in Survivor, you don't really want to be in good with everybody. You want to set your numbers and then set layers of those numbers in place, because there's not power shifts like in the same way it is in Big Brother.
Yeah, generally speaking, I put Finn pretty early on my boot list. I know we haven't finalized our picks yet, but just typically where I put people, he was on the earlier side. So,
are we finalizing them at the end of this podcast?
We'll just do a shout out for like our final 3 or so, and then we'll release our final boot list available on the viewer group here at facebook.com/groups/Survivor Boston VG. That stands for viewer group. So
okay, I had him going really early.
Yeah,
I think let me double check.
I was like, is he first boot or second
for
boot?
Me. Something like that for me too. So,
and
Finn, I hope you prove us wrong. Of course,
I hope he does. I do have one other prediction for him. I think that he is going to go for the Temple of Risk and lose.
Yeah.
Out of anyone
Oh,
in this
yeah.
cast, I think that's going to be his
Okay.
downfall. He's going to jump right in, thinking it's kind of like a Big Brother thing, like Josh Martinez going for safety the first week. He's going to jump in and have that backfire terribly. That's my prediction. I hope he does great. Finn, good luck.
All right. Let's see here. Next on our list here, we'll go to this person. Anissa. So Anissa, from my notes, she is a journalism manager, and she thinks that's a great skill because she thinks the perception of journalists is that people view them as being honest. So
Yeah, I thought like, yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I think there's right now, I mean, there's a lot of things you could say about journalism, but I think that the fact that she like dropped like, that journalists are good at interviewing people, I think that's really going to be a humongous strength. Like, if you're able to coax information out of somebody without them realizing that you're kind of being goaded slightly, it can be a really powerful tool if she's able to do it and not get caught. And I think that, like she said, like she was like really competitive. Oh no, that was someone else. But like I think she seems really competitive, and I could see her really doing well or flaming out early. Also, she can say the alphabet backwards. What more do we need? That's amazing. I wish I could do that.
I think we need a lot more than saying the alphabet backwards. I don't know how useful that is.
I'm kidding, but yeah, I don't think if there's like maybe that'll help for like an anagram sort of thing, like some sort of letter rearranging. But yeah, I think you're gonna need more than that. But I think she definitely could do well.
Yeah, I thought she was engaging in her interview, but really forgettable, quite honestly. Like if there's any person in the cast, I could be like, what did they do? Like what? Well, I guess she had the alphabet thing, but great.
Speaking of the alphabet thing, I think the best part of the interview when production was like, "Oh, can I see that?"
Mhm.
And then you obviously can't see somebody say it. You can hear it, but you can't see it. So whoever in production said, "Oh, let's see it."
I do think that plays to her advantage though, because in these games, being forgettable is good because that means they're not bothering to target you. I think I think she's gonna do quite well actually. I see her getting in an alliance and getting very deep in this game. And unless she did say one line, unless she does something stupid, she wouldn't be a target. And I do believe that with her. So I have faith in Anissa to go far. Am I going to be enthused to watch her? I don't know, but I hope so.
I played around with her and another cast person, Carly. I swapped them in and out for the same spot. I thought they were pretty much had the same gameplay mentality as of being like a third person, like the person you bring along because they're nice and they don't really like understand 100% of the game, which she could totally prove me wrong and be like a powerhouse player. But I think she'd just go along with whatever the majority said. And I think that's going to be working out to her advantage. She doesn't seem very threatening from my perspective, at least.
She definitely is like someone I know. Like I would be like, yeah, I'd want to work with you. And, like hope that you're not gonna like totally backstab me. But she seemed like someone I think who could definitely find herself in a really good majority alliance really early on.
And more importantly, who's gonna waste a vote on her?
Right.
I don't think they will. I think she's set. As long as she
think like
do something stupid.
Yeah. It's a very good thing to be able to kind of fade into the background and strike when the iron's hot. The thing is she'll have to set herself up in that position where she can strike and like hit the target.
Just like you said, I wrote in my notes that she's not going to be anybody's target. So, but somebody that is almost the complete opposite, I would say, who was very laid back. So, thoughts about Brady?
I remember in the not the like sneak peek of the first episode, that original like season 4 reveal trailer, he had a line that's like, I'm gonna make sure who I want to go goes and who I want to stay stays. And that really like stuck with me. I definitely think he's going to try to be a power player. And that will either work out really well for him or really terribly. And I think I'm inclined to say it's not going to work out as hot because I think with like the theater and politics background, that's such an amazing combo. But if you try to maneuver it too much, it's really just going to blow up in your face. So I could see him trying to come up with a bunch of different alliances and trying to like too overtly manipulate. But I think he's going to be such a blast to watch. And I'm really excited to see like if he's going to have a downfall or if he's going to rise. So that's kind of my thoughts.
Yeah, I like Brady a lot. I think he easily could have a downfall, but first of all, I love his Mario shirt.
Yes.
That gets him points.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of 4 people who talk about being a theater performance major. So I'm like, there's easy connecting points already if he doesn't already know some of them. And again, in this game, it's very likely that some people in the cast are going to know each other. We don't really have, I don't think we have an idea of who those people are yet, but that's going to play a factor in the game. Even if they run in the same circles, they're going to be inclined to work together. And he's very well spoken, has a varied background, and for their out of their collective like age group, I think he might be a little bit more grounded than the other contestants.
Yeah.
And I have him going pretty far in this game.
I have the opposite, actually. I know we did a little preview of our picks, me and Nathan did, and we pretty much had opposite for a lot of them. I thought Brady, even though I really loved him, I thought he was like super well spoken, like you said, super grounded as well. However, I think that might work as a disadvantage. I think people might see that threatening and feel like he knows too much about the game and doing too well.
Yeah. I definitely have him towards the like later pre-merge, which is unfortunate, and I so hope that I'm wrong about that and that he goes deep. But
I don't see that as being a reason for him to get voted out. As I think people are going to want to work with him because he comes off as strategic, but not as overt as another member of the cast we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
And I think that more likely is that it will result in people really being bitter against him when he votes them out. They're going to blame him.
That happening.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's see here. Was the next person you were thinking about being over the top? Was Austin?
No, it wasn't.
It was not, actually.
I felt like he was really over the top, and like he seemed like he was even threatened about how many people he knew in the cast. So I feel like we talked about the performing arts majors and how people know each other, they're going to work together. But like he said in his interview, that could be a detriment. People might think he's talking to too many people. So I just thought, you guys were thinking of Austin, but I guess not. So thoughts about Austin?
Well, I love Austin. I mean, by the law of Austins, which I'm totally making up in my head, I must stand any fellow Austin. So there's that. But he gives me mad like Alex Borowski vibes from season 1 of Survivor Michigan. I do think he's going to be a bit over the top, but I think that he's probably going to have the social game to back it up. He seems like absolutely personable, but he says he has a strong personality. So I think he could very much be like this very dualistic character where he's very much trying to be in power, but he's also like really trying to play the good social game. So it's going to be really interesting to see what he does. And then just like the being associated with people he might not be talking with just because he knows people. It's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. So I'm kind of more middle of the road, as much as I'd want to say like, oh, he's awesome, he's going to win. But like, yeah, I think there's a lot of ups and downs.
Yeah, he's among a couple seniors in the cast, and he says that he thinks it's a weakness because he knows people. I don't think it is. I think the more connections you come in with, you are set up, because then if people even bring up your name, you already have people watching your back from the get-go, especially in those early rounds. He's protected from early on. I think his downfall is going to be he's going to overplay. But I like that he's aware of his weakness, potential weakness, and I think that gives me faith in him as a player to do fairly well in this game. Just because if you don't know your weakness, then you don't know how to counteract your weakness, and at least he knows that he's going to have to And if he's going to be targeted, he knows why.
I think that's a really good point.
Mm-hmm. I had him going mid of the road as well, as you were saying. I don't know. I don't know.
He easily could be like a third boot or something.
Yeah.
But I have faith that if his connections are actually in the game, I could see him going middle jury.
Yeah, like to be honest, I could see him very much having a similar trajectory to me. As it's like he could very easily be like an early boot, but he could very easily use those connections and get like saved and like forge some inroads.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be really interesting to see how much of a like trans universal like cross survivor dimensional Austin trajectory there will be.
Mm-hmm. We had a viewer chime in. Just a little shout out there for Sabrina.
Hi, Sabrina.
Well, Sabrina's not in this cast, so we can't review her, but I would say she would do very well in this cast.
Sabrina would rock it.
Sabrina would
top
two,
three.
at least.
Yeah.
Top 2, and then she gets top 3, and then she gets cut by her best ally.
Yeah.
I wonder who that could be. So next on our list, we have scroll down here. Swetha.
All right.
Swetha. I practiced the name too, so I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm terrible with names, but I don't apologize for my placement on this one.
Oh boy, is that good or bad?
That is great. That's great.
Okay, all right.
I feel like she was super competitive. She's a communications and marketing. She was super passionate about everything she does in music. She mentioned working with an a cappella group, so she can bond with a small group of people and get along, which I think is really important in Survivor. And then she just has lots of Roz vibes from last season, which I think is a huge, like, she knows who she is and she can't wait to play the game. So I'm super excited to see her play. That's my 2 cents, maybe 3 cents.
I love Sweta. I think I loved her line, like she's competitive, but she like described herself like Wu from Kageyama, like she's a people person. And I think that's going to help her so much. And like, she doesn't want to offend people and like hate people, seeing people voted off. So like, I can relate to that. And so finding that balance is going to be super important. I think if she can do that, and if she isn't viewed as a gigantic social threat, then I think she will go deep. And I would love to see her win.
Now you mentioned Wu. I think she was referring to the Wu. It's a personality type. In a lot
in that
of.
case, never mind.
Okay, that's what I thought, and I was like, I don't know what a Wu is.
I totally like. I'm like, we're on the Survivor. I thought like Wu, but.
No, a Wu is stands for winning others over. It's a personality type that you really want to be. I'm a Wu myself as well. So Swetha, hey, we got a bonding thing. So yeah, that's
you
what
learn
it stands
something
for.
new every day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Survivor teaches you things. So yeah, I mean, even in that sense, I still think it's going to be absolutely perfect for her. So I see her either going super deep or getting like sniped right before the merge because she's a giant threat. But I'm going to say I'm more inclined to say she goes deep.
Mm-hmm. Nathan?
In my first watch through of the interviews, I had her going pre-merge.
Oh, really?
And then I gave her interview a second watch, and I really like her. And I think she's gonna do well. But I'm like, I say that hesitantly because I feel like I'm gonna be rooting for her, and I don't want her to I don't want her to go pre-merge. But like, so I'm like optimistically predicting that she does well and goes far in the game. You know, maybe it's the acapella thing. I think being a senior helps, not just in connections, but just in maturity a little bit.
Yeah.
It was a big difference between walking in there as a freshman or a sophomore. And 100%. Then, you know, having just a little bit more life experience under your belt. And I'm not concerned with her difficulty to betray friends. I think maybe that's what made me put her pre-merge initially, but I think she's gonna, just my impression, I think she's gonna fall into the atmosphere of Survivor just fine, and I think she's going to be one of the few people who's going to really branch out socially from different groups and be somebody who's really intentional about talking to every single person on her tribe, and that's what gives me faith for her to do well.
Absolutely. And as these college-based games go, there is a lot of cross-tribal talks too. You'll see
Yeah.
somebody passing and be like, "Hey, we should meet up," or just like, "Hey, let's trade numbers," and you can meet in person for these college games. So it's a little bit different than typical Survivor. That's just why it's kind of its own unique little live reality game. So
Totally. I think that's definitely going to help and hinder like the seniors. If like, I mean, coming in, like when I played, I was a senior and I didn't know anybody. And so that was kind of an interesting thing. But then again, there were only 2 seniors on my
there's
cast.
like
And
three
so
or four at
there's
least.
like a few.
Mhm.
So I would be definitely interested to see if like they all run in the same circle.
But speaking of being a lot of seniors, I think there's a lot of people in like the theater program, such as this next person here. We have Marlon. Marlin? Did I say it wrong?
Marlon? I think it's Marlon.
I'm
Like the
terrible with
fish.
names. I'm sorry,
That's okay.
cast of people. So he is an actor, and what I thought was most impressive was how strong he was in athletics. He
Yeah.
commented. He said he was like a track and field star, so I can see him being like the team captain, essentially, the challenge winner. But also, at the same time, if that would hurt him if he makes it to merge those individual challenges. So
I'm like inclined to agree with you, but I also think he seems like really chill. And so I could see him probably taking a back seat and being there, like being his tribe's challenge workhorse. But he's gonna have to really work at making sure people will keep him around despite his challenge prowess. And he said, like, I'm an actor, so I might be able to put up a facade. And I'm like, great. Just don't put up too many facades or don't make people think you're sketchy.
Yeah,
so
I
I think
pause.
Yeah, lot of room for things to go wrong for Marlon, but I think that he definitely could find himself a very big physical threat.
Yeah, whenever an actor comes on the thing and says, "I'm gonna act," it's like usually you act with a script. You don't just like. And also you don't form strong relationships if you're acting with everyone.
Yeah, there's a difference between acting with the script and ad-libbing and trying to lie.
I think his path to do well is like you said, if he does just lay low and make people forget that he's there. As soon as he starts to honestly play very much at all in a strategic sense, I think he's in trouble. And I don't really have him going very far into the merge. I think he's fine during the tribal section, but once he gets into the merge, I think he's going to get overplay and get picked off.
I actually have him going really far.
Oh, okay.
I did little sneak peek. I think he's the kind of like FTC GOAT, or maybe like he's gonna be like 3rd place.
Okay.
I think he's gonna be able to lie low and like win a few immunities and like be a good social player, but he's not gonna have like enough compared to the 2 people I have in front. But I really like him, and I hope that like he does have a really good arc and he's fun to watch. I think he's going to be cool. So
yeah, he's going to have some theater performance. Major alliance.
Oh yeah, I mean I'm excited for everybody. So like even if I think they're going to be like kind of in the background, I'm so excited.
And I really like this cast too in general. I know we talked a little bit about before about how excited we were, and I really like the aspect that there seems to be a lot of people from across the country even they're all still at the same college going to school in Boston. They're all from Chicago, there's some from LA, there's all over the place. So
and Marlon's from New York, which I think there's a couple other New York people. Anthony is one. That you might be able to connect based on just where they're from.
Let's see here. Well, speaking of having everyone from all over, this next contestant joins us in the college from Florida. That means my mouse is not working because the picture's not coming up quite yet. No, it's fine. It was just Hector, or
Big
as
H.
we call him, Big H. Exactly.
I love that. Yeah, what do you guys think about Hector?
I like him. I think he's pretty. Looks like he's potentially pretty sociable and going to be able to form or find himself in a strong alliance early on. I think he's going to totally overplay, and I have him as my merge boot, quite frankly.
I think I have him at 11, which could very well be merge.
I don't know when merge is exactly, but
It's
when I was
always
placing
different.
him, I was like,
Yeah.
he's somewhere wherever the merge is.
Yeah, I'm like, he's either right before the merge in that, like, you're a giant threat, we need to get you out before it goes individual, or, like, as soon as you don't win immunity, you're gone. But I love him. I don't know if you guys ever watched Degrassi, but he, like, it's like a dead ringer for one of the characters, Zig. And so I think, like, that just earns points in my book. But, like, he loves fitness, and I think he's definitely going to be a challenge beast. He's going to be like kind of like Marlon, that kind of workhorse. He mentioned one of his favorite shows is Big Brother. So again, we'll see how the strategy kind of compares. And I really liked his biggest fear was like people always being fake to him. And like, yeah, I think that's a very valid fear to have when you're going into playing Survivor, and a fear you're definitely going to have to get over. So it'll be interesting to see if he can keep his head on straight. But I ultimately have him as a wild card, but one I really want to thrive. I think he might trust a bit too easily. He just kind of gives me that vibe. And he's obviously going to be a big threat because of his physicality. And so I think that's going to get him in a lot of trouble. Even though I do want him to do well, I think he's probably going to be middle of the pack or just before that.
He's really giving me Brady vibes from Michigan. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Like
I can see that.
He looks very physical and very social at the same time. So I think he's going to find his way in with the right group of people to take him far and to bring him far. Even though they may be worried about him winning those individual challenges, I think he'll find a group and he'll just fly on through to merge and possibly even further. So, Nathan?
Yeah, I do think that the Temple of Risk is something that's good for him. Because if he's already going to be a big target, he should risk it and for the biscuit and go for those extra powers. And I think if he does that early on and he can, leverage his political capital so it doesn't blow back on him, like I think it would for other people. I think that he can set himself up by just like loading up his arsenal and just like if I was advising Hector, I'd be like, just go for the Temple of Risk every time. You're likely to win it. Just go for it. Get whatever benefits and let someone else suffer the consequences.
Yeah, I totally forgot what I was going to say.
It's okay. For the people watching at home, for the people who haven't watched the preview yet, Temple Risk is a new twist that Survivor Boston added this season. From the sound of it, we'll get into what our speculations and how it works exactly. But players will have the option of choosing a challenge. They can either win an advantage or they could lose and get a disadvantage. So we'll bring that up more at the end and try to incorporate maybe our thoughts about how it plays out exactly. But for those watching at home, that's just kind of what it is. And if you haven't checked out the preview yet, make sure you go over to the Survivor Boston on YouTube and check out the sneak peek. It's like a nice 7-minute video too. Yeah. It gives a lot of characterization of a lot of people. So I'm excited about that too. So do we have more thoughts about Big H here?
I love that in the sneak preview is like he's Big H and then his Chiron is small h. And I just like cracked up about that. I'm like, oh, that's what I was gonna say. If Risk It for the Biscuit isn't an episode title, I think the players were doing something wrong and were not trying to actively get episode titles. I know that's something I was doing, and I was like, oh, that's a quote we're totally gonna use for an episode title. And of course, the one episode title I did get was something I totally forgot I said. So there you go. So I think, yeah, I would love to see someone go for the Temple of Risk every single time, and I think Hector could be one of those people who does it.
I think if you're in the majority, it's worth it every time for somebody from your alliance to go, and then you just protect them with the numbers, and then your alliance gets advantages.
Right.
That's what I would. That's how I would play it. I would get myself in a majority, and then be like, hey, one of us goes in every time, or two of us even, and then we're guaranteed to get it. And then we can just deal with the disadvantage, whatever it is.
That'd be interesting.
So that's about what we got for Big H. And now we have, we'll say, Big M. We got Max here. Big M. Max. What's going on with Max, people? What are you feeling?
Another like really chill dude. I really like Max. I think he and Anissa could definitely work together because they're both journalism majors, and I think they could easily find some commonality there. He also mentioned like getting people to talk and be comfortable with the person that you're interviewing is like super important, and I'm like, yes, that's going to help him so much. I love just how much he loves reading, and I think like, you know, that's awesome. And he said he wants to like get to know and talk to people, and that'll help him decide like who's gonna be his allies and everything. I'm like, I think he's gonna have the social game down pat. And I think if he could be one of those people who might like slip a bit under the radar, but play a good enough social game that, you know, he might be like a Michelle or kind of like Todd, who's got those like amazing social games and a good strategic game to back it up. I think he could definitely pull it out.
Yeah, besides appearance, I think I kind of relate to him to Tommy Sheehan,
yes.
winner of what's that one?
Island of the Idols.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tommy, I think that's also a great parallel. I think I could see him very much being a Tommy.
You know, if he can pull in his Lauren, who would be like Anissa, someone who's, I think he's somebody who I also thought would be really proactive in reaching out to people socially. And I think Max is going to do great.
Yep, I'm going deep as well.
I think it's funny that he said one of his biggest skills was reading, and he can't wait to like bring reading skills to the Survivor game. I'm like, what are you going to do? Like read a clue really quick? Like,
hey, sometimes you have instructions or something.
Yeah, always make sure to, if we're learning anything from The Amazing Race right now, it's always make sure to read your clue. So
Lord
yeah.
knows.
I mean, like honestly, like when I was playing, like idle clues sometimes, like that reading knowledge might help. Like the only reason I was able to figure out an idle clue was like because I remembered. I was like, oh, did I read something about this? And so, like, I think like breadth of knowledge could really be beneficial in like very niche circumstances.
I think more importantly, he comes off as emotionally mature.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the beard. I don't know, but I that's the impression I got from him.
They do it.
mm-hmm. And glasses. He's like smart too. He has glasses, so it's
there
like,
you go.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. So my thoughts about Max. Middle of the road. I think he's going to do really well. I don't know if he has enough like gusto to take it all the way, but I think he's going to do well. I guess I'll just say it like that. Let's see here. Somebody I also think is going to do well in my initial draft pick is Jess. What do you think about them?
So I was a little more on the pre-merge end for Jess, unfortunately. What I think is going for Jess is that they have a few friends who encourage them to go out for the show. Spencer and Roz, they name dropped, and I mean,
two great players of the show too.
Spencer, third place, Roz won.
Yeah,
that's amazing. If you're gonna be like, I have these friends, they did really well. Maybe they can kind of give me some advice.
And if they pick you out of the group, like you're the one that they want to like go on the show, then for sure, like great job.
So I think that's very much going to work in Jess's favor. And they said they used to be a big sports person, which is another amazing duality to the theater side, right? And so I could see Jess being another big physical social threat. But because I think Jess comes off as an extremely sociable person, I could see them being targeted extremely early on just because of that just vibe, you know? Like sometimes you get into a game and you're like, that person just gives me a really bad vibe that they're going to be a massive threat down the line. I want to get them out now. Like I've had that happen to me where I'm like, yeah, I don't trust you right off the bat, like first impression. I could see that happening. Now I don't want that to happen. I want Jess to do very well, but I've got her early, and just because like I know if I was playing and I kind of heard their like intro snippet, I'd be like, you have like a lot going for you, and that scares me. You know what I mean?
I had trouble reading Jess I feel like I didn't know where to put them in the boot order because I feel like it could go a lot of different ways. Um, One of the things I picked up is that they talked a lot about activities, but not a lot about who they are.
Mm.
And that for me was reading that maybe they might have trouble connecting with people. Um, I'm not sure. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt, and so I put Jess mid jury, but
I think
I'm kind of at a loss with
I think
Jess.
Jess had strong like physical attributes from the past experience about being on like the soccer, swim, and karate, which is great. And I think this might bring back the competitive side that they're missing from the theater thing. Not saying theater isn't competitive, you have to audition and everything, but they're like, I don't know, the more physical
Yeah.
attributes, I guess. So
Yeah, I think the theater performance thing and the athleticism will at least get them to merge,
mhm.
but I don't know that there's going to be enough there in terms of deep connections and strategic like connivingness to really get past that mid merge point.
There's the picture. So we talked about different like cliques of people, and we talked about like the theater side, and then we're bringing up another senior here. So our next senior on the list we have is Jackie. Jackie was a movie major. She's from Massachusetts, so hometown. Um, let's see here. Also, karate. That is something that Jess had in common with Jackie. They both did karate, which I think is great. She has a mental like capability and maybe like a focus for karate because
Hmm.
she went really far in that. Jackie
Right.
did, and I think she might. I don't know. She sounds like she knows herself more than what she did in the past. Like she gave up and she was disappointed that she didn't follow through with that. So I think she knows herself really well, and I think that'll help out.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I'll start off with.
I was really conflicted about where to put Jackie because I really like her and she's like someone I'd be like, I want to play the game with you. But she didn't, I think just in the pack overall, she didn't really stand out as much. And so I think that could be really good. Like we've been saying, like if you're able to slip under the radar and be in the background, that can be really helpful, especially right now with the Temple of Risk being like a big glaring, hey, come get some threat on you, like sort of thing. I think that she could easily be just taken out because she doesn't like fit as much, or she could be kind of taken along and she'd get under someone's wing and then burst out when the time's right. So I have her going earlier, but again, like I wish I could say like everyone's gonna make the merge, but unfortunately, not so. So I do have her going kind of like 12, 11-ish. So we'll see. But I'm definitely intrigued.
I'm not too much higher on her than you, but I am a little bit higher. I think that she has the. I think she's going to be able to find herself in an alliance. Maybe she'll have that karate connection with Jess, but I don't see her making it much more than early jury. What?
You're like, she's my winner pick.
Is that
we're not exposing it quite yet, but
yeah.
I have her placed a little further than you folks. So however, if experience comes to back for my predictions of the totem pole, Liz and I made terrible predictions. We made great predictions, just our people did not get very far.
Yeah, I'm sure all of us are terribly wrong.
Oh, like my track record in like regular Survivor winner picks is trash. I had a string where they were like for like third, fourth boots, and then even like LRGs. I think I'm a little better with LRGs somehow. But yeah, so we could all be terribly off.
Well,
That's the fun. I love it.
So, viewers at home, if you think you can beat us and our terrible picks for winners, make sure you fill out the form so you can win a great prize at the end.
Yeah.
So, did we have more thoughts about Jackie here, real quick?
No, she didn't give me a lot.
Yeah.
She gave me more than all you.
Like, Jackie, I want more from you. Give us,
We want
give
more
us
from
something.
you. I can't wait to watch you play, and I'm really excited to see what you do.
Let's see here. Earlier we talked about a marketing and communications major, and then we have another one here. We have Zach. Let's see here. Any thoughts?
So many.
Nathan, how about you start on this one?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Zach, in my first watch of him, I'm like, late game, for sure. And then I realized that Survivor Boston is like a long game.
Okay.
And if it was a weekend long, I think Zach would do fantastic. I love his accordion shirt. He's from Chicago, which I think a few other people are. I could see him aligning with Swatha, or with Finn, and then betraying Finn. But I don't think Zach's gonna do well. I think they're gonna be like, what a snake, he's a snake, he's definitely a snake. And he's gonna make it like, he's gonna like betray Finn, and then he's gonna be taken out right after, because everyone's gonna be like, oh, he just tried to pull some shit in like the first round. So I have Zach going very early. Sorry, Zach.
I love how you have a backstory with Zach and Finn already. Like, you have no
I'm
idea.
sure they're
Fan fiction. We need more like college Survivor.
It is Finn fiction, really.
Fin fiction, yes.
I think he's gonna have a very similar story to maybe per se Austin with us. I feel like Zach, as a huge fan of Survivor, he's gonna say that one term that everyone's gonna be like, you know way too much. I think Austin, you named like the beach.
I named my tribe after the location where they film Australian Survivor in Fiji.
And I think this is going to put a huge target to him. He knows, he knows his Survivor winner. He knows how he plays, how he wants to lay. Like, he knows too much, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So
he's also similarly standing on the end next to Finn when the cast is all lined up. Just saying, he also seemed like he was a little distant. I don't have faith in Zach here. I hope he proves me wrong. I think he's going to be hella entertaining, and I hope he breaks out more shirts like what he was interviewed in, because I want some fashion statements.
Fashion icons, let's go. I actually am the exact opposite of you guys. I have him, making it.
Very far, we can say.
Yes.
Okay.
So I really like Zach. I think he said he knows how people can come across. He's a fan of reality television. He knows how people can be edited. And I think that if he says he relates to Todd from China, I think that's going to contradict his kind of I'm devious and I'm not subtle about it. I think he knows that. Like we said, you know your weaknesses, you'll be better able to combat them. I think if he can do that, he can do it.
The problem is he's not a Todd, though.
Right. He's not Todd, unfortunately.
Who's that guy from Island of the Idols who aligned with Nora early on? What's his name?
Jason. Yes.
Yeah. He's like a Jason. He's like,
yes.
Oh wait, you look like every other schemy person who plays these games. That's who he is, and he doesn't recognize it.
I will say he reminds me of a couple people I've seen in other games and stuff. But I think where he's going to be different is that I think he just gives me the vibe. I don't know. And I'm really excited to see if which side he's gonna fall on, if he's more like you guys, more like me. But I think he could. I wrote down in my notes, he reminds me of myself, but way better.
If I don't get an amazing Zach blindside, I'll be really disappointed. I think it will be glorious, and I hope we get a great
I bet if he does get blindsided, it will be insane.
That's highest hopes for this season. I need a really good Zach blindside, whenever it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think he could easily be a likable villain, kind of if he can entrench himself in a really good power position, and we kind of mentioned if we can get that alliance and run the Temple of Risk, if he can make everyone protect him, he can do it. I don't know.
Best of luck to everyone and their predictions, except for Austin. I think you're wrong. So
that's okay. That's fine.
let's see. We talked about how he was very over the top and how we knew exactly who he was. One of the players that I didn't connect with as much, though, Haley here.
Oh no.
Haley, I really took some really good notes on Haley, but every time I follow back with Haley, I'm like, I can't remember very much. So, she's very similar to one of the early people that we talked about, Finn, going for comedic arts. Haley's also loves to clown around. And just as a reminder, Haley, she's a clown. At least she is going to school for being a clown.
I
Thoughts?
think she's a theater major, but she likes like Cirque du Soleil and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I actually really love that. I know we're opposites again, but I wrote love Hallie, such a cinnamon roll. She is so precious, and she reminds me of myself. Like she fears getting on someone's bad side and someone hating her, and like she's like she has such a great story with like the passion she has for what she does, which is something I can relate to with my job, and I can see her like really charming the hell out of people. And I can see her like really struggling to reconcile the game and what it is with, the friendships she's going to make and eventually have to be in the position to break if she wants to really cement herself. Or I could see her just not fitting in. But I have her going deep because I mean, I have her going like 8-ish, which I guess is we're gonna call it deepish. But like I think that I just am really pulling for her enough that I'm gonna just manifest it.
Gotcha. Nathan,
Yeah.
thoughts?
Yeah, I see her being an odd duck, especially out of all the theater performance people. I mean, the clowning thing is fine, but the fact that she has to explain what it is, that's a problem. I don't think she sells herself particularly well. I mean, she says in her interview she has no skills but acting and clowning, and I early on she's going to have to sell herself as an asset to the tribe if she's going to have a shot at not being one of her tribe's first or second boots. And I'm sure she's a fun person, but I don't know that she's going to have the opportunity to show it. So I do not have her going far at all. I think she's going to be odd duck out, and she's going to perform a little weaker in a challenge, or at least not outshine anyone in a challenge, and then they're going to cut her.
I think that's completely fair.
She does say one of the best quotes, I think. It's not verbatim at all, but she really says that her friends say Survivor Boston will change your life. And I feel like all these games do, just generally speaking, from all the live reality games that we've all been a part of, all the ones that we've seen happen. These games change people's lives. And I really appreciate her saying that, or at least her friends telling her that, because that is what happens, folks. Let's see here.
Like, I don't know, like you guys were like, yeah, playing Michigan and Buffalo totally changed my life. Like, totally helped me, like, grow so much. So I hope she gets that. I can only hope. Like, this is my first thought when I finished her videos. Like, I hope she has a positive game because, like, she reminds me so much of myself that, like, I just want her to grow, have that opportunity as much as I did. Like I was definitely could have been in that kind of position of like the odd duck, and I probably like was. And so I think that there's room for her to grow into that position and use that as her strength if she can like sell herself there. But yeah, I could definitely see her going either way.
Yeah, one of the people that I want to see most grow or mainly gain something out of this, and I think this person has a lot of potential in them. It's coming up with Madison. Generally speaking, Madison says, let me see here, she doesn't handle stress very well. She gets very frustrated. Now, I think that is a sign of knowing yourself really well. She is the only person to put herself down in the interview process. Like, she knows her weaknesses more than everyone else. Everyone seems to know their perception of being weak, but she knows herself individually. So I think that is a huge attribute. I think she is super likable. I think she is super social, and I'll stop there because, okay. That's my thoughts about Madison.
Austin, why don't you go?
Yeah, I do not share your optimism. I think I love that she knows herself, right? Like, again, that's absolutely an asset to have in this game. But, she said she's a very negative and cynical person, but fairly outgoing. What like a wild card, right? Like two sides of that coin. She's bad at managing stress. She's only watched a little Survivor, so she might come into the game and not know what's going on.
Oh yeah, she said, "Oh yeah, Survivor. Oh, that looks kind of
Yeah,
fun,
right. Which
surviving on
is
the beach."
great. You can play a fantastic game and come in knowing absolutely nothing about Survivor, but it does help to have that leg up, especially in a cast that we're seeing definitely has a lot of like reality TV fans. And so I have her as first boot. Unfortunately, I just think like she is probably going to shoot herself in the foot some way and like really just not gel. Like I think she's going to be the odd duck, and I hope I'm wrong, of course, but I really just don't. And if she does go deep, I do think she's not going to be able to really cement herself as the most predictable, and that's going to get her in trouble.
Nathan, come bring Austin back. Tell us.
Bring me back to the light.
Yes. Okay.
How great is Madison, right, Nathan?
Here's the thing about Madison. And we don't know how the tribes are drawn in our predictions, so that's part of the problem. Is when I'm making my prediction, I'm thinking of who would, in whatever way that this group might be split up, do they have an avenue to make friends, and then do they have an avenue to go deep? Is there anyone who would actually work with them? Madison has a potential avenue. There's Max and Anissa are both journalism majors. But I think she's completely out of her depth here. And I also have her as a first boot. I don't think she's going to do well. I think they're going to take one look at her hoop earrings and be like,
yeah, it's the earrings. It's the earrings.
Like, we're trying to run here. I like her a lot. I hope she proves me wrong, but just based on preseason impressions, I have no hope in her, but I want her to do great. I want her to prove me wrong. I want her to go far in this game. And there's nothing I like more than being wrong in reality show predictions, because that's no fun. So prove me wrong, Madison. Be great. Be a strategic powerhouse. But I think you're toast.
100%. Madison is going to be the hot mess of the season, and it's going to be so great to watch, because I think she's going to hone that hot mess in and school everyone. So just I won't throw anything out, but
let us see.
All right. So linking these two by the similar names, we also, besides Madison, we have Maddie.
I would be so I'd crack up if someone's like, "Oh shoot, I meant to vote for Madison, but I voted for Maddie." Crap.
Yeah. Can I address this for a second? So I was on a season where I shared a name with somebody.
Oh yeah.
And no matter what you do, there is a rivalry.
There can only be one.
Because you want to be the one person with the name. You don't want to be the other Maddie. You don't want to be the other Nathan. You want to be the only one. And so I see that being a cause for conflict immediately between Maddie and Madison, or between her tribe, just trying to pick one. Which one do we like more?
Yeah.
I think they like Maddie more. And that's also why I think that's another contributing factor to Madison. I think, unfortunately, it's also her name.
I mean, I played with 3 Emilys on a season.
Oh, Lord.
So thankfully they were all in different tribes, which helped. But there's only room in these games for one person with similar names before it just starts getting confusing.
And you're never teaming up and going to the finals with
as awesome as that would be. Let's face it, that'd be sick.
It would be sick, but I've never seen it. I've never seen it, and I don't think it will.
I really like Maddie though. She's passionate about conspiracy theories. And
I think she has a great mix of. She has Big Brother and, of course, conspiracy theories. Of course, those gel all the time.
Yeah, I'm like, Kat Dunn? Are you Kat Dunn?
Her strategy, she said, she's going to listen, adapt, and act, and not necessarily float, but be observant. And I'm like, align with the personal people, because they end up controlling the votes exactly. And then she wants to usurp them. I think Yeah, like she could do that, but I think the really big thing is you have to make sure you're not stuck in those personal people's shadows. And so I think she seems a little kooky. I think she seems like a really great character. I have her going a little more middle of the pack, late pre-merge, early merge. But I mean, I'm sure she's going to be incredibly entertaining. And she's also from Chicago, so that's also bonus points in my book.
I think her listen, adapt, and act is really well. I think she practiced it too much. I think she's going to go in with a mindset of how to do it, and she's not going to be able to actually adapt. Like, even though it's in her little acronym and her saying, I don't think she's going to be able to get over that. So,
yeah, I like Maddie a lot. I think that she's going to do very well. I think her strategy is, while well articulated, is maybe missing a few pieces, like you said, about like recognizing that you don't want to be stuck in somebody's shadow. I also think that she's gonna want to take control too much. I think she's gonna overplay, and she's not gonna be content to sit on the sideline. And so I think that I have her going deep in the game, but I don't have her winning. And I think that she's gonna show her hand too much because she's not gonna be content with the more likable people she aligned herself with. Like, you don't like it looks like she's trying to put herself in a bad position.
Yeah.
And she's going to eventually realize it and then force herself out of the game because of it.
Yeah, I mean, if her strategy is like to really get there and then to make sure I take out those personable people, like that's awesome, because then she like realized like, yes, there's more to it than just like getting behind them. You have to get out in front of them. But then the problem is, if you backstab them, you have to hope they're not bitter. And so it's going to be really interesting to see if she is successful, because I think if she is, she could do really, really well.
Also, if you take out who the rest of the jury is rooting for, the jury's not likely to like you very much.
Also, yeah. So it's going to be really interesting. She's one of like the definite like wild cards for me.
I'm just trying to check my list. Where's Maddie? Okay, she's right there. She's like middle right now. So, quick shout out for Nathan.
Ben! Hi, Ben! Ben and I played Big Brother Victory House together in a season that never made it its way to YouTube. But
that's okay. And then one of our admins here at the Live Reality Game says, "What a group of fun people! Hey, there we are. We're having fun." I don't know which admin didn't switch their status, but that's okay. So it's one of us. Let's see here. Where did we leave off on? Who is next? I scrolled down. I was looking. Okay, we have Carly. Just as a reminder, everyone, Carly. She auditioned for the show because mainly based on her roommate saying she was meant for reality TV. And I don't know. I'm not really seeing it. Maybe it's something that she just has to warm up for the camera and get that expression out. She's also Jewish. So shout out to Shiley, another big live reality game star here. Maybe you two could work together in the future and whatnot. And she's also a creative writing person. So what do you guys think?
I like Carly. I think, like she mentioned, that like she watched Survivor with her roommate, and so I think she has a little bit of a basis. But yeah, like being good for reality TV, what does that mean? That can mean so many. You could be like gregarious and be good on camera. You could be a drama queen and stir shit up, and we all know how that can get on people's nerves. So I think I'm double checking because I think I have her going. I actually, though, despite all that, have her going a bit deep because, which is weird, because I think the fact that she does wear her expressions on her face is, again, going to make her a bit predictable. And I think she's going to be sociable enough that people are going to want to work with her. And like, especially if she doesn't like know Survivor as much, she might be able to get some people to like kind of take her under her wing and again, kind of perfect that like kind of meat shield strategy. So it'll be really interesting to see. But based on your reaction, Dustyn, I don't know if you ever go and
I have her going like I see her not knowing as much as like the strategies and stuff, so I don't see her forming a close-knit alliance. So I think she might get picked off for not partnering up with the right people, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had her making it to jury initially, and then I rewatched her interview, and I was like, I don't know. I have her. I just don't see who she's teaming up with.
That's what I said too.
Yeah, so I have her going pre-merge. I just don't see her path. I think she's going to find herself outside the numbers, but maybe not an immediate target. And then once the people who are real odd ducks, are out of the way, I think she's going to be the outside, the leftover outsider who wasn't actually included in an alliance.
Mm-hmm.
I want to double check this. I'm doing some research because I remember seeing somebody. I want to say it was her. It was no, never mind.
And not having a poker face also is a very bad thing when you're doing tribal councils.
You're like, I'm not voting for you.
Like if you let up information or actually just wherever you're at in the game, like you don't want to do that. You need to be able to measure your words a little bit, measure your reactions a little bit, and I don't see her doing that. And I see her going for
it. I think that's fair. I think like the good thing in that though is like, I mean, for me, like someone like I tend to wear my expressions on my face too, and I think like that if you are within if she's able to find the people she's going to team up with, like that's always the initial hurdle, right? Is like cobbling together a good alliance. So if she can get in those right people, I think she's going to do well. And I think part of me having her going far is like, I think there's a lot of people who are going to flame out. And so it kind of like leaves a little bit of room for kind of like the, like probably less overtly threatening players to be able to like sneak in, have a little wiggle room. So I don't know if she's necessarily going to be like the punchiest player, but I could see her just kind of like squeaking through the cracks.
Now, a person that says they can hide their facial expressions really well from their theater experience, we have Anna. She says she really lives in her sister's shadow of being super smart. Her sister goes to MIT, I think she said. And Anna has found her niche, and she picked up theater and is really looking to use that to her advantage. So,
yeah, I liked Anna. I like particularly that even though she's a theater person, she said she wasn't going to try acting in the game. Thank you, Anna. For at least not trying that. And I think she's set up. I think she has the theater performance people she's immediately can connect with. I think she's going deep. I think she's personable, smart, and she's going to be in a strong position for most of the game.
Yeah, Anna is one of my favorite. Dustyn, you're like, no?
I'm shaking my head over here, but it's okay. No, like, I'm okay.
I love Anna. I love her story. I can totally relate to that kind of with my little brother. Like, we're two extremely different people. So I was always like weird, like the older brother comparing themselves to the little brother. But that was kind of me. And so I love how she said, like, she's going to twist what she says, but she's not like, she doesn't want to lie. I guess more like, we're going to more like omit truth sort of deal. But I think like that's going to be really good. I think she just gives me that like star power vibe. Wow. And I think if she really can, be endearing and make sure she can twist her words in the right way, she could definitely be that like puppet master.
Now, I do think you said star power, and I think she does have that. I can see her having the big story of the season. I think she's really going to grow as a person. And I think she's going to get voted out at some point, but when she does get voted out, she's going to have such an amazing experience. She talked about her personal struggles already, so she wants to open up, and she's okay opening up in front of a camera. So I think that's what we're going to see. We're going to really love her. She's going to get voted out, but eventually. Most people do. Come on, this game.
That is the unfortunate reality.
I will reveal this. I have her getting voted out as the fallen angel. I think she's going to be the star of the season, and she's going to fall short.
Let's see here. Then our last but not least person, we have another possible star of the season. Anthony here. Anthony, let's see. He wasn't too keen on, actually, going for the show, but he was asked by, sounds like, one of the production members.
Mhm.
He does have a saying that knowledge is power, which is great. We
Yep.
also have Max that is like super keen on
Yeah.
reading and super smart. He compares this game to Clue. So I don't know exactly if he thinks he's playing like the mole or whodunit,
Yeah.
but
It was Colonel
hopefully this will come
Mustard
out.
voting him out.
You know, in the way you manage information, it can be a little
Yeah.
bit like Clue.
For sure.
Yeah, like different people are going to have different bits and pieces of information than you, and they're also going to perceive that information differently than you will. And so I think he definitely could have that skill where he can really be able to collate all of that information together. However, I think he's going to come off as way too cerebral right off the bat, and he's not going to be able to really establish the social bonds. And I think he gives me like Spencer vibes, where he's Spencer from Real Survivor, not Spencer Wright vibes, where he's going to view people more as chess pieces. And I do not see him going far, which is so unfortunate. I think he definitely could. I think he could surprise me, but I just like I know he's the kind of guy I would want to take out early because I think he would be way too threatening down the line. So that's why I think I have him going a lot earlier.
Nathan, what are your thoughts about Anthony? Do you
Yeah.
kind of agree?
Yeah, I think I agree. I like Anthony a lot. I'm excited to watch him. I think he's going to be fun. I think he's going to find himself into some kind of alliance, but I don't think he's going to be in the power position in anything he does. And I think he's going to be picked off before merge.
I feel so too. I think he was hiding how smart he is actually from the way that he talked, and I didn't know like his persona. I felt like he was a lot smarter than what he was even trying to portray, which scares me because, you know, if he's really good at puzzles, if he gets to that puzzle, he's going to solve it in 2 seconds. So I think that's going to be a target for him. I know a lot of people physically can be targets, but I think Anthony is a target like mentally. So I think that is going to be a detriment to him. So
yeah, I think he seems like one of like in a sea of like very cerebral and very social players, in very physical and very social players. He like stands out as like the biggest mental threat to me, and so I'm really interested to see how he's going to gel with these other kinds of players.
So that wraps up the cast of 17. We do hear in the announcement that somebody drops out, so it was really supposed to be a season of 18, so it's going to be interesting. Right when I found out 17, I was talking to the host a little bit. They said 17, so my initial thought was like an exile twist or something like that, but it happens. Like it happens in these live games.
Yeah, so what are they going to do about the tribes then?
So I have an idea. And I mean, I doubt it's going to happen. But my idea,
this portion, we're all like on theory stuff, though.
Is the Temple of Risk challenge. Either the winner is going to get to pick the tribes, and then because it's going to happen before they get in a tribe, so it's either they get to pick the tribes, and the person who doesn't get picked will just get exiled and join the losing tribe, right? Or that's what's going to happen to the loser, and they get automatically exiled, so they don't get to make those initial like challenge bonds. Like, and sure, they'll know what tribe is losing, so they can maybe try to like worm their way in there and influence things. But in all honesty, it could just be something that's like an extra vote or some other like an idle clue. So like, who knows? But yeah, playing with an odd number is really interesting to start out. I mean, I've been there. In Survivor Buffalo, we had an odd cast. I think we had 17 too. I might have been wrong. It might have been 15. But yeah, really interesting. So I am excited to see what the ramifications of that will be.
Thoughts about Temple of Risk there, Nathan?
Yeah, I think your theory about that for the first round being about who's the leftover person, I think that's a good guess. I think that person's going to have to be exiled, you know, and then sub in for whoever gets voted out first, just to keep the tribes even. But I don't. Yeah, that's a tricky situation. I think the Temple of Risk is going to be really interesting. It's particularly if players use it in an aggressive way rather than in a defensive way. Like I want to see players try to work with an alliance to manipulate it entirely. it can easily be a thing where someone who's an underdog tries to get in there to win some power so they can reverse their situation. But I'm more interested to see if anyone has the wherewithal to be proactive in using it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very similar concept to what the safety suite, I think it was called in this last Big Brother, where they would work out, be like, send 2 people in from their alliance to try to win it for their team to secure it. So I think if they can manipulate it like that too, and especially in a college-based Survivor atmosphere, you can align with the other team essentially and have players from that side also try to take it too. So it's going to be very interesting to see the mix of people and to see how it actually goes, which I'm super excited about seeing.
I adore the Temple of Risk. Like, whoever came up with that, like, I have to salute you. That is something I've always wanted to see on Survivor, and so I'm so glad we're getting to see it. I think the amount of advantages and disadvantages you can impose are just so varied. Like, it can be anything from a hidden immunity idol clue or like an extra vote or something else. It can be a challenge advantage. What if you win and your tribe gets an advantage in the challenge, or you lose and your tribe is disadvantaged? And then
no, I don't think it's going to be a tribe based at all. I think it's all individual.
Think so, but I would go there. If I was doing it, I would totally be like, yeah, you took a risk and it's going to backfire on you and totally kill your social game.
Something to look out for.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Go for it. Go.
Yeah, something to look out for. I think when you start introducing a lot of twists and advantages in the game can become a little bit more static as people try to have stability. So I hope that doesn't happen here. I am a little bit worried about that happening. In my own season of Big Brother Columbus, we had a twist where basically people could earn, points like exile tokens and then buy advantages. But because there were so many potentially floating around, it really made for it easier for the house to become static. And I hope that doesn't happen here. I hope that, because if I was in there, I'd be like, oh, well, I'm really going to want to play a more static game rather than a dynamic game if I don't know what all the variables are.
And plus, if you go for the Temple of Risk, like, is that going to telegraph, oh, I want this power over you, and therefore I am a threat, right? Or is it going to, because the way I see it is like, you don't want to, with all those powers floating around, you don't want to, as soon as you like get one, you're going to be a threat, right? So it's a matter of like what you said, Nathan, if you can get it and have the alliance to protect you and hope they don't turn on you, or if no one's going to go for it, and it's kind of like Island of the Idols where it's like, oh, you don't even really need it.
Yeah,
I don't see that happening.
It sounds like it's going to be a public reveal, too, if everybody has to step forward, especially the first one. So it can't really be a secret, too. You're going to be known for having an advantage. Even though you don't know exactly what it might be, you're going to have some sort of advantage. So it's going to put a target on you.
Yeah, I think it's a mistake to do the first one. But after 100%. That, I think it entirely depends on the person and where they are at in the game. I don't think it's necessarily a death sentence to enter the Temple of Risk. I just think you need to have either the social capital and the alliances to protect you, and honestly tell them ahead of time, like, hey, I'm going to do the Temple of Risk this time. I think it'd be good for someone in our alliance to have it. That's all you have to say. People are fine with alliance members having advantages. They're not okay with people outside of their alliance having advantages. So either you're backed by it, or you're an underdog and you're an underdog and you're like, I need to freaking get something to change the situation. And in that case, you don't really care what people think anyway, because you're already screwed. So it's a fun dynamic to add to the game, and I hope people are inventive in how they approach it.
I'm kind of interested to see what'll happen if only one person steps up. Like, do they have to do the challenge and like still risk, or do they automatically get it because they're the only person? So I'm kind of hoping we see that happen, and then everyone's like, oh, he stepped up or she stepped up. Like, that would be really interesting to see. So I think there's just so many possibilities with it, and that's what has me the most excited.
But then if you saw someone outside of your alliance going for it, wouldn't you want to go for it?
That's a great question. Like, I mean, yeah, you in theory probably would, to make sure, like, but then at the same time,
someone has to go against them. You can't really just let them have it.
Yeah. But like, what if it's like what if it's a scenario where you know the disadvantage beforehand and you're just like, I don't want to risk that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Could be
then
really risky.
I think one of the things I'm really excited to see though is like, what's the jury gonna think? Like, if you go through the game and you don't, like, let's say you never take it up, you never go for the Temple of Risk, like, but you played a really good game outside of that, like, kind of thinking like Island of the Idols, where Tommy never went to the Island of the Idols and he still played amazingly without it. Like, is it going to be something where you need to take that risk and you need to demonstrate you're willing to put like so much on the line? Or is it really just going to be something that's more on the side and is going to be a bane or boon depending on how you do?
I think that's a good point. Yeah. This is Island of the Idols was a random chance for whether you get to go.
Right.
Tommy just never got to be chosen for
it. So for this, I don't think that really matters as much.
Yeah, this is going to matter. I think people are going to value risk taking, and granted, I say that with quotes because we don't really know if it's going to be a risk. Or because if they can orchestrate a situation to where it's not a risk. But I think you do need to. People vote based on their season structure and name, partially. And if you don't engage with that, I think jurors might have an issue with that.
Yeah, I think considering the like thematics of the season are like Greek themed, and like Palamedes is like the gambler and everything, I'm hoping we get some like Greek like comedy and tragedy stuff, or like some kind of Odyssey vibes of like, yeah, you're either going to come out of this a hero or you're like going to Tartarus and you're not coming back. Like, I really want to see some really, like, to use like a video game term, I want to see some crunchy combat. I want to see like, you have to put your money where your mouth is, and if you mess up, it could be bad. You know, like, obviously you don't want something that's like going to be unrecoverable, but I'm really hoping that we get to just see some crazy fallouts from the Temple of Risk.
And I'm sure we will. Only time will tell. The first episode airs 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Survivor Boston's YouTube channel. So make sure you check that out this Thursday. Now, for everyone waiting for the big reveal, Austin, Nathan, and myself have picked pretty much preliminary boot list. We're going to lock in our final 3 picks here. And we have to do this for something. I don't know what it is yet. So we'll have to think of what this is for between the 3 of us.
Okay.
But for everyone watching at home too, you can always put your picks in too. Voting is due by the end of the first episode because, of course, you're going to know who at least the first one is. So I know we already have, like, as you said, fan fiction out there. We all have stories made up in our head about how the season is going to go, who's going to work out with who.
Yep.
I don't even know where to start. So I guess I'll just start.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say it's going to be a final 3, which we're picking final 3 anyway. But my final 3 would be a 3rd place of Jackie, 2nd place of Anissa, and a 1st place of, wait for it, Madison. Now, my reasoning...
Crazy!
I hope you were right.
I hope so too. Then I'll win. Now, my 4th place really like sets the tone though, and my 5th place. So my 4th place, generally speaking, is Swetha. I think she is going to corral the girls, and that's going to be her strategy. She's gonna bring it home with the girls, and I think the 3 other girls, she's going to be able to not use, but maybe manipulate in such a sense to vote with her. And my 5th pick is Hector. So I think really the strength of her, Hector, and probably Jackie too, from her karate background, they're really going to work together and get the challenges done. And I think Anissa is going to be the GOAT of the season, essentially. I think she's super nice, and I think she's not so with it game-wise that she's going to know exactly what the strategy behind it. And then I just like Madison being amazing, and her hoop hearings are going to bring home that 1st spot victory. It's my thoughts.
So I have in my fin fiction, I think that the Theater Performance Alliance is gonna be a thing, whether or not it is a real thing, and I think that's going to loom large coming into the merge. And I think that's going to be the main focus, which is partially why I think Marlon's going to go pretty early in the merge. But I also think that the people who are taking that down and who are emerging on the other side is an alliance which will make it to the final 3. And in third place, I have Anissa.
Hey, my second.
Yeah, and I think she's going to be tightest aligned with Max. And I think the figurehead of their alliance is going to be Brady.
Oh.
And they're going to let Brady take the proverbial fall and the blame for everything that happens. Brady is going to deconstruct the theater performance alliance. And so what we're going to be left with is people voting for Max to win. Brady might get a strategic vote for second place, and Anissa, I think, will be a 0-vote finalist.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm admittedly really torn between first and second. But in my fin fiction, I have third place is Marlon as the unfortunate GOAT, or maybe he gets a vote or two, but I just think he's going to be too much in the background. I have in second is Anna. I think she's. I honestly think it could like literally come down to one vote. Is how much I'm between them. And Zach I have as the winner. I know. Like I made some crazy ass winner picks in the past, but like I just think like it's
how long is this season?
Long. But I think it's like 80 something days. But
he's not gonna be able to
but I've seen people who by all rights should have been like gigantic threats out super early, like in Survivor Michigan. I've played with people who've got people on early seasons, late seasons, people who like should not get as far as they do, Like you look at Winners at War, like how the heck did Tony get so far, right?
He paced himself, but Zach's not gonna pace himself. Zach's gonna go out sprinting.
Zach could have paced himself in his like pre-show interview. He was like, go, go, go.
I mean, I could be very wrong. But like to round out my 4 and 5 are 2 popular picks here, Max and Sweta. Which I think either of them could easily win. I'm also just really high on Max. I think he can totally.
Yeah, I Sweta at 5, so we're all pretty high on Sweta.
I think she's either going real deep or out early. But I'm gonna stand behind Anna and Zach as like my 2, and I'm gonna lean just slightly more on Zach because we gotta buck the trend a little bit. We've had like 3 women in a row win Boston, which is amazing. I don't think I've ever seen that happen. So like statistically, I think like let's see if a guy's gonna pull it out. I think Zach is either gonna really mitigate his weaknesses and really just run the show and be able to use the Temple of Risk to his advantage, or he could very well flame out. But as with a lot of my favorite winner picks, usually they're a very either or. Usually I'm wrong. So we're gonna see. But I'm gonna go with Zach here.
I think you are both very wrong.
I think you both are very wrong.
I honestly, if I had to pick the one I think is the most realistic, I think it's yours, Nathan.
Thank you.
Aww.
Thank you.
Sorry, Dustyn. I'm sorry.
Okay. Wait, you don't think your first boot pick might be the winner?
Both of you had Madison going first, so I can't wait to see that first episode and have her make it that first time.
Like, I'm so excited. And
I'm excited that we have that.
Oh God, yeah.
She's either first boot or winner. There's no in between.
Hey, sometimes like you have those kinds of people, and like those are sometimes the most fun to watch because they are so like dualistic.
You know who Madison reminds me of? Jessica Nixon. Or whatever.
Okay.
That's who she reminds me of.
Okay.
Which upside? That's her upside.
I think that's her upside. I think her downside is like Nora.
But also, let's not forget that if Cody wasn't the first HOH, she probably would have been on the block that season. Yeah. So that's where I think she's ending up because I don't see a Cody Nixon in this cast.
No, I mean Hector.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know. I'm like
I don't see beta alpha talk from
on
him.
that kind of subject, I just think this is such a strong cast. This is one of the strongest casts I've ever seen. And so I am absolutely hyped to just see what they all do.
It's going to be messy.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
here for the mess. I think that the gameplay is going to come in spurts from everybody. I don't think anyone's going to control this game by any means. And that's what makes for a good season in my book. So I'm here for the ride.
And you are stuck with us. Nathan has joined us on our live reality game production team. So he will be covering Survivor Boston with me. We are always welcome to have special guests. Dustyn here to join us tonight, which is super amazing, from Survivor Michigan. Just a quick recap on our picks for the audience at home. Let's give them a little picture. So my picks, Anissa. We have Jackie. And then my winner pick, of course, Madison. Just like Nathan said, this series is a season of mess, and that's, I think, is Madison's strong suit. Anyway. We're gonna circle back for Nathan here. Nathan, remind me of your picks, please.
Anissa, 0-vote finalist,
right there.
Just riding her alliance with Max to the end, and then
that's exactly what I said too. So,
in second place we have Brady, the mastermind behind the big moves of the season, but I think that he is going to rub people the wrong way because he's just going to be a little bit too political. And then we're going to be left with Max as the winner.
Max is the winner right there. Big M, as I said earlier, right? Big M.
Big M.
There we got Max.
He's going to push it to the max. I'm sorry. I had to. And then mine.
Yes, please.
Probably the most unpopular pick. Well, Dustyn maybe. We got Marlon in third.
Marlon. Here we go.
We got Anna in second.
Anna, at the start of the season, we said.
Yes. And Zach in first by 1 vote. It will be an incredibly compelling, contentious season with a lot of ups and downs, but I really do think that those two are gonna be powerhouses. So I'm really excited.
Here's one other thing we haven't talked about yet. All theater and performing people have egos. You're not gonna get Anna and Zach, who have these giant egos, in the finals. It's not gonna happen. You need someone. That's why I think Brady and Max I see as more of a possible pair, because someone who's a little bit more out there, someone who's a little bit more reserved. I just don't see. I think you're gonna need those more reserved people for alliances to work.
Now, see, I think that's why I brought in my fourth and my fifth in there, too. I think Hector and Swatha are going to run it, and Jackie as well. And then Jackie's going to cut Hector with the girls, and then she's going to cut her biggest competition, which is Swatha. And I think Jackie's going to get a strong second place, and I think Madison's going to pull out the win because she backstabbed Hector and Swatha.
Do you think the girls are going to like Madison?
No, I think they're going to use her as much as they can, and then Madison is going to have this wonderful.
I see the girls.
I can't
there's no way she's in a girls' alliance.
Honestly, going to Boston season 2, she could very well be an Isabella, and she could.
She's so femme-based now. There's no way she's in a girls' alliance.
Yeah. You know what Madison reminds me of, and I think it's the hoop earrings, it's the eyeshadow. She gives me very Roaring 20s vibes. Which kind of going with the Root of All Evil, which you guys covered a couple days ago. I could see her really kind of trying to be that wild card. And so maybe she's going to be used and then cut people, or she's going to be used, let other people do the cutting and say that was her strategy all along. And
she's going to have no idea.
So I don't know. I don't know. She can say she has no idea.
What's she gonna say in the final 3? Why do you think she's gonna win? What?
She's
what is
gonna
she
have
really?
such a character development. You know, if she can't handle stress, she's gonna come out of it. She's like, I was able to survive. Stress. I got this.
Yes.
Overall, I think our fan favorite though is Swatha. I think we all see her as a superpower player, and I think we all had her super high on our list. So I think that was overall our fan favorite. Statistically, I would say. And I think this pretty much just ends it for our cast assessment for the night. So thanks everyone at home for chiming in with your picks too and your shout outs. Thank you to whoever said that. Ben popped in for a moment. Sabrina,
Thanks, Ben and
Jacob, one of the
Sabrina.
hosts. So I can't wait to hear what you all have to say. We'll leave the comments open, of course, so please tag along. Austin, myself, and Nathan will all check the comments. We'll chime in. We'll say how
You
great
bet.
Madison is. Right, guys?
Yeah,
Right.
I hope
She's
she's
great.
amazing.
I think she's quite easily one of the most interesting people, and I'm really excited to see how she does.
Me too.
I think we're going to be talking about her a lot for as long as she's on the show.
Agreed.
All right, thanks everyone for checking out the podcast today or watching it live here on YouTube or Facebook on our channels, Live Reality Games, facebook.com/Live Reality Games. Please check out our group page, which will have special contests, different discussions with the hosts and cast members as they're eliminated. You can find that under the groups under Facebook, Survivor Boston Viewer Group. And then, of course, check out our page, Live Reality Games. Nathan, Austin, thanks again for joining me tonight. And we'll see you all later. You can check out this podcast anywhere podcasts are available. Have a great night, everyone. Make sure you vote.
Go vote.
Yes.